This is your tech news briefing for Wednesday, April 5th. I'm Zoe Thomas for the Wall Street Journal. When you interact with digital assistants like Alexa and Siri, you probably imagine a female responding to your requests. That's because the designers of these programs have assigned them traditionally female-sounding names and voices. They aren't the first digital tools to be given genders. Think fictional robots like Rosie on the Jetsons or the Terminator. But is it a bad idea to give these devices traditionally male or female names, voices, even appearances? Some experts have expressed concerns, but recent research suggests there may be at least one big reason to give technology a gender. With me to discuss this is Kornelis, who wrote about this topic for the WSJ's Journal Reports. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining me.
Good to be here, Zoe. Thanks.
Chris, let's start with the concerns. Why do some experts say it's not a good idea to give robots or other digital assistants genders?
The idea is anytime that a gender is associated with a piece of technology, that all of the stereotypes that come with that gender are going to be associated with it, and it's going to reinforce those ideas. And a really common one they point to is Siri and Alexa. These digital assistants were given female names, and they've been accused of being very submissive and willing to take criticism. The concern is that it reinforces some of these negative stereotypes.
Okay, but there is a possible good reason to give machines a gender according to this new paper. Can you tell us what the conclusions of that were?
This paper looks at what happens when technology, when a robot, when artificial intelligence is given a gender. And what they're finding is people find those things to be more human-like. And when people find technology to be more human-like, they grow more attached. Well, if tech companies want people to be attached to their technology, they want that to happen.
It doesn't seem all that surprising. I feel like I've always given my cars names, and that's not such an unusual thing.
And ships and guitars, it's very common. Think about Tom Hanks in Castaway giving the volleyball a gender. I mean, it's very common for people to do that. And these researchers I spoke to said too, gender is very closely tied to humanness. The question, though, from the researcher is there an upside to having people be attached to their technology beyond selling more products?
Tell me a little bit more about the studies that were used for this paper and who was doing the research.
The researcher at Stanford was the lead author of this paper, and she and her colleagues, they looked at how do people rate their autonomous vacuum cleaners, for example. And what they found was people who are humanizing their robotic vacuums, they're finding them to get higher ratings and have a closer attachment to them.
Is there any indication that companies are considering this issue when they're thinking about putting out a new product or naming a product?
The researchers I spoke to said these companies don't do things by accident. They know what they're doing. Are they giving it a female gender to be malicious? That is not the implication here. But the idea is that they know what they're doing. And they're saying, too, not all of the stereotypes are negative. The female stereotype of being kind and being somebody who's affectionate, these are positive things that we want from people, from humans. But one of the things that they're saying is they're not giving the technology with power the female identity.
Not as many female Terminators, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
So is there a way to avoid some of the downsides of the stereotypes, according to the researchers you spoke to?
That remains an open question. And what they were looking at is this reinforcing stereotypes, period. And parsing out how do you do this without reinforcing negative stereotypes, they would say it takes more study and really is almost a more complicated issue.
So does that mean everything from like my laptop to the microphone that I'm talking to you through, like are all of them going to have genders?
There's not enough room in my life to be attached to my lamp and my pen and my laptop, but we've seen the attempt everywhere, as you've said, to give names and genders to things. I think there's probably no end to the attempt to do this. Not as many will stick.
Kornelis, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And that's it for today's Tech News Briefing. For more tech stories, head over to our website, WSJ.com. I'm Zoe Thomas for the Wall Street Journal. Thanks for listening.